Welcome in. Welcome in. My name is Bryce Kuhn here on the Crowded Booth. It's a Wednesday, so you know what we do on Wednesdays. We take a look at what's going to be happening on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. But we're also in this sweet, sweet spot of college football where you can't go one day without having something on your TV in terms of the game that we love. And so obviously, big time, you got to talk about it. Kennesaw State back in action. Did they figure out football? Liberty, obviously in action against Jacksonville State, that and more. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. Put us on the split screen. Do what you want. Put us on the smaller screen. Get football up on the TV. And let's talk college football. It's a fun week. It's week 10. Not too many more regular season weeks to talk about college football, so we're going to enjoy every single second of it. Subscribe to the channel. Lock it in. Let's roll.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The Crowded Booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Kuhn.
Welcome in. Welcome in. Happy Wednesday. I am excited that you're here. I'm excited to talk about college football. And most importantly, I'm pumped. Obviously, we get ready for week 10. And for the team that I cover, we got a bye week. So I get to sit on the couch, taking the daughter, a 4-month-old, will be 5 months old next week. We're going to go trick-or-treating. We tried on the Halloween costume. I'm pumped. I'm excited. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun to do that. And we hope you lock it in here on the show tonight. Just me riding solo tonight, so let's talk college football. And going to give you some thoughts. We got some notes on 2 big games that we're really going to dive into, and then take a look at some of the games to watch. And then we obviously get to our best bets as well. So lock it in. Let's talk some college football. And while you're in the chat, because we see the numbers climbing in terms of who's watching this, while we're in the chat, put down your favorite Halloween candy. It's that time of the year. Put it down. And let's see where you go with it. So let's start off with this right here. We've got a big-time matchup in terms of playoff race, in terms of conference title race, and just in terms of the overarching story that the 2024 season is going to entail, I guess we should say. So let's talk about that here for a second. Ohio State, Penn State. This is a noon kickoff, 3.5-point favorite of the Buckeyes on the road. This is brutal in terms of, look, I don't understand it. Ralph has been very vocal about this. I was hesitant towards it, and now I think I'm fully on the ship. It's ridiculous that the best game that you have as a conference is right after your brunch. We got people throwing down mimosas and heading right over to the stadium for this one. Ohio State, Penn State deserves under the lights college football. It deserves everything that is glorious about that Penn State campus and that stadium and that environment. It deserves it. The fact that it's not getting it is a crime to the college football society. And if you put the right people in power, they'll make it happen. That's all I got to say. Moving on. Here, we talk about kind of the first point with this game. Are playoff hopes on the line? Well, obviously, yes, but found some interesting numbers with this. ESPN has come out with kind of its sponsored by Allstate. It's Allstate College Football Playoff Predictor, where you can go in and you can kind of simulate the scenarios that you'd like to see in terms of college football in general. So it has about 20 teams in the playoff. Obviously, both of these are, there. And entering this game, ESPN predicts, which if you don't think ESPN plays a factor much more than just a simulation, wake up to college football. Hello, Florida State fans. They do play a factor into the college football playoff. Penn State currently has an 84% chance coming into this game to make the college football playoff. Ohio State's percentage chance is 73%. A fun little stat that I found with this, and Ralph just joined in the background. Ralph, I sent you kind of the notes for the show. It's on your email if you want to kind of play along with me here. An Ohio State win against Penn State on Saturday, the percentage shoots up big time. If they lose to Indiana next week, they still have, and then they beat Michigan. They would not play in the Big Ten title game in this scenario. If assuming Indiana wins out, it'd be Indiana and Oregon, or Penn State and Oregon, depending on what, how those things work out. But Ohio State wouldn't do it because they'd have 2 conference losses. Ohio State's percentage per ESPN to make the playoff with 2 losses in conference is 75%, which is still fairly high in my opinion. Coming into this game, you're at 73. You have a 75% chance to do just that. I wanted to add this into, it's not just a 75% chance to make the playoff. It's a 53% to be a host in the first round, and a 21%, obviously, there to be going on the road. So to me, in my opinion, this is a scenario where I pose the question, are playoff hopes on the line? Well, for Ohio State, you would think, yes, if you win, you continue to take care of business. If you lose, things could get finicky. They could get a little uneasy up there in Columbus, Ralph's favorite second city in the world. They could get uneasy there in Columbus, Ohio. So 75% chance if Ohio State wins this game. Now let's talk about the game in general. Here's some of the things that, I've got 3 points I want to hit on this game. And Ohio State minus 3.5 at Penn State. My player to watch in this one for Penn State is Tyler Warren, the tight end. He's been nice. He has been very effective for them. It's not explosive, but he's a guy that's been a reliable target for Drew Aller and company. You also kind of see, too, this is hinging on Drew Aller's health, which James Franklin and Penn State said they're going to probably take this down to the wire, which makes sense. It's going to force Ohio State to game plan for 2 different quarterbacks. Aller has raised his average depth of throw that was 8 yards last season, because remember, we always talked about Penn State didn't throw the ball down the field. It's up to 9.6 per game. Now, when you talk about that, we know Ohio State has guys, and Larry Johnson up there in Columbus has done a fantastic job with that defensive line. But if you, and you kind of, and I want to say this, when you go to Penn State and you look where they have struggled against the elite teams on their schedule, well, it's frankly just been a scenario of you can't stretch the field. There's no downfield threat. There's no ability to create any type of, you can't occupy the back of the mind of the Ohio State defense because you haven't been able to throw deep on them. Drew Aller has increased, like I just said, from average of 8 yards to up to 9.6. You say Bryce is on 1.6 yards. But when you look at the big scheme of that, that means he's hitting on some deep throws. I like Tyler Warren in this game. I think he could be a really nice piece to the puzzle for Penn State to win this football game, especially against the Ohio State linebacking core that isn't as strong as it has been. So all that to say is, what if Drew Aller doesn't play? Now that creates an entire different scenario. I got the backup. We got information here. Bo Prabula is the backup. He's more of a dual threat option for Penn State. He came in last week. He threw for just over 100 yards. He ran and he scored. But the biggest thing that he did in that game when they played Wisconsin was he didn't make mistakes. He didn't put the ball in harm's way. And it was a balanced attack. Look, you're not going to have the 5-star arm talent that you have in Drew Aller, but you're going to have a guy that understands the offense. He understands the moment. And for people saying, well, it's the backup quarterback, understood. I don't know if it's going to make a massive difference, but it's also a guy who has been at Penn State as long as Drew Aller has been. He came in the same class. So he understands the magnitude of this rivalry. He understands the magnitude of this game. And, although he hasn't probably played in this environment in terms of what it's going to be like, I know it's a home game, but just in terms of you're being QB1 for that game, it seems like from reading the press clippings that Penn State is comfortable with Prabula being the guy. So it's a different dynamic, and I think Ohio State has to enter this game really asking themselves, how do we counteract whoever they throw? And that's going to be something from the defensive side of things that I think this entire staff is going to have to take a look at, and they're going to have to understand coming into this ball game, we've got to shut them down because and we'll flip it over here to the other side of the football. Ralph says Trace McSorley Jr. Could be. Who knows? We talk about Ohio State's defense. Okay, let's flip it over to the other side of the football, because my other concern and question in this game is, can Ohio State's offensive line hold up? Penn State comes into this game 8th in the FBS in rushing defense, and they've held just two opponents. Only two opponents have gotten over 100 rushing yards on them this year. Once again, I don't care who you played. I don't care what your strength schedule is. When you are dominating your opponents, like Penn State has defensively, it truly doesn't matter. I mean, they are a suffocating front seven that is going to be able to get after Will Howard and company. Now, the reason this is a cause for concern for me if I'm an Ohio State fan is because you're just coming off a performance for the Buckeyes where you held to a season-low 64 yards against Nebraska. Season-low 64 yards. Will Howard was under duress that entire game against Nebraska. Obviously, very, very brutal. But when you look and see, oh, hello there, Ralph. When you look and see, and I'll poise it to you here. We'll just bring you right into the fire. Will Howard was under duress last week. Ohio State's not coming off a great rushing attack in terms of what they're able to do. That's my big cause of concern. We already know two of the top three tackles are going to not be available in this game for Ohio State. I don't know, man. It seems like the recipe is there for Penn State to really get after Will Howard and this Ohio State offense.
Yeah, and honestly, to me, Bryce, the biggest thing for last week is you went away from Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson. For those two to have 20 carries total, something's gone horribly wrong. They are the best running back duo in college football. I think we can all confidently say that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been saying Judkins has been number one running back in the country for 2 years.
Yeah.
Can you imagine with Travion Henderson, they should run the ball every play. Then you have Carnell Tate, Jeremiah Smith, who are unbelievable. They're an incredible talent. But if Penn State wants to win this game, they're going to send a multitude of blitz packages, giving Will Howard fits. I mean, look, Will Howard's playing in some tough environments now. He's no spring chicken here. This is a guy who's played in some tough environments in the Big 12. He played at Oregon already this year. He knows what he's going against. He knows it's going to be loud, even if it's a 12 o'clock kickoff, which you said it for me earlier, is a national crime.
Yeah.
This is a 12 o'clock kickoff. This by far should be game day, which it is. It should be a 8 o'clock kickoff on ESPN, ABC, CBS, whatever you want to put it on, Fox. But if Ohio State wants to win this game, they have to establish their run game first. Overall, they have to run the ball. I know they're without their tackles. I get that. You have to establish a run game though, because if you're one dimensional, Penn State will ruin you all night long.
Yeah,
James Franklin's been in college football for too long. He's lost this game too many times now. This is a team he has the upper hand finally in this game with a good team. With Ohio State kind of they have the guys. They haven't put it together yet. You have a chance to knock them off. You have a chance to knock them really out of the playoffs. Not completely, but still a chance to knock them out of the playoffs and get that big win under your belt that you haven't really had since you've been there.
Yeah. No, and to your point, Ralph, with that, I wanted to go back because I wanted to play the odds game here. If Penn State wins this game, they have Washington and Minnesota coming up. You do get Washington at home, which is big in terms of the fact you don't have to go back across the country.
They'll find a way to lose the Minnesota game, though.
You think they're going to lose Minnesota?
They'll find a way.
So let's say they do, and they don't make the conference title game. Well, Ralph, they still have over a 99% chance to make the playoffs. So I don't want to say you pencil it in. I don't want to write it in Sharpie here. But if you win this game, if you're Penn State, you can pull out the hole puncher like the guy on the Polar Express, worst Christmas movie ever, and you can say tickets, and you can go punch that ticket. All right, real quick, I wanted to get to this kind of last point because you mentioned this, the environment and everything. You know, a game like this is determined right within the margins. I think this is not going to be a blowout. I could see this being a low-scoring, physical football game. And, Ralph, what I just described should be happening at 8 o'clock at night, not at noon. But when you go back and look at how Ohio State handled Autzen Stadium when they played against Oregon, 4 false starts and 1 delay of game. We have seen offensive miscues, self-inflicted mistakes. I've seen it in person. We've seen that ruin you. We've seen that just tear apart any momentum. That's my cause for concern here for Ohio State. I like Will Howard. I like what they have, but even though it's going to be a noon kickoff, that place is going to be rocking. Can they handle the environment? And I'll go ahead and give you my pick here. I'm riding with Penn State to win this one. Close. I think that this Nittany Lion team is going to be better within the margins in the little details than Ohio State will be, and that's going to be the big difference.
I agree. I think you're right about low scoring. This to be a high scoring shootout would shock me. But then again, if it did happen, I shouldn't be shocked because I'm wrong 90% of the time. I see it being 21-20. I mean, I really do. I think 21-20 Penn State. And I think it's a first half. Like if you go back, if you remember last year, this game, I think the first half was like 7-3. It was a horrible, ugly game from both teams.
Yeah.
And Ohio State ended up just putting I think they scored 14 in the second half, and Penn State scored 3. It was like whatever. It was like 21-6 was the final score, something on the lines of that last year.
Yeah,
I have it being somewhat like that. It's an ugly game, like you said. There are gonna be turnovers. If Drew Aller doesn't play, I might switch it to Ohio State though.
yeah.
But when I say Trace McSorley Jr., I do mean that. He is the same exact size and wears the same number as Trace McSorley.
Yeah, no, he's good. I mean, he's a good player. It's just throwing him in that environment, and I know you're at home, and just that situation is a lot to ask out of that.
That truly does help him being at home in that situation.
Oh yeah, and he's not a true freshman. Like he hasn't played a bunch of meaningful snaps, but he's played ball, and he understands what it takes to run that offense. Real quick, wanted to get to some of the questions we got here. Jonesy says if Ryan Day loses this game, the faithful are going to burn Day at the stake. Yeah, he's on the hot seat. Like if they lose this game,
honestly, he's on the hot seat right now.
He might be gone. Like if they lose this week and next week, then he might be gone at 9-3.
And people are going to ask me, why do you think that? It's because how much longer are you going to tolerate having this good of rosters and having no championships with it?
That's true. That's fair.
You haven't won a Big Ten championship in what, 5 years?
Let's see.
2020 was my last one, I think.
I'll tell you here in a second.
If I remember correctly, I think it's 2020, the last one they won. So 4 years. And you've had
2020, yeah.
You've had some of the best wide receivers to walk into a college stadium and play together, who are now doing on NFL day in, day out. Yeah. And you've had some really talented quarterbacks who won a Rookie of the Year, who's a potential MVP candidate from here on out, and CJ Stroud. You've had amazing running backs, defensive players, and you've done nothing.
Yeah.
Ryan Day is on the hot seat this entire year because he has the roster finally. This is his money roster. You have to win. Yeah, there's no excuses. You lose, you're out. Honestly, I believe if you're right. If he loses to Penn State or they lose to Penn State and Indiana, he's gone before the season ends.
Because you're not making a playoff at 9-3.
It will be a coachless Michigan game. Because I think Michigan fires what's his name before then too.
Sherrone Moore, it's brutal. Mr. Giovanni, I want to make sure I'm pronouncing that right. He goes, I want Penn State to win, but they just have a history of choking and not being able to break through and becoming elite top 5 team, just one tier below. Very valid point. I will just say, just because something hasn't happened yet, you can't say it never will. Look, I'll tell you this. Everything feels right for Penn State. Phil Collins has a great song. He has that feeling. It's in the air tonight, and I'll tell you, it's not a night game. But if it's during the daytime, I got a little Phil Collins action here, Ralph, hitting the drum solo like our boy Fade Amos in the locker room back in high school. So I like it. I love it. That's where I'm going with that. Maxwell says it's going to be a whiteout. No, they've already done the whiteout game.
The whiteout against
Illinois or something. I don't know what it was.
I think it was Illinois at home. Yeah, it was Illinois at home that beat them 21-7.
Yeah, Woo. Penn State, Ohio State, gonna be a fun one. All right, let's move on to the next game that we're going to really dive into the docket. It's a crime. We should be there in Dallas. Hashtag pony up. But in all seriousness, this is 2 ACC unbeatens. Ralph, another spot where not just a playoff spot, but a spot in Charlotte, definitely on the line for both these teams. And I'll be honest with you, when you look at these two teams and their resumes, with all due respect, you probably can't afford a loss. Like if SMU is going to reach the playoff, and we all talked about this on Monday, there's a chance that they could not make the ACC title game and still be undefeated in conference play. You can't really lose. Like if you're SMU, you have to win out. Same with Pitt here. Coming into this one, SMU had a 30% chance of making the playoff and a 20% chance for Pitt. Here's interesting to me. And Ralph Will talked about this on Monday. This is why conference title games are going to eventually go away. And they'll just crown someone like they do in basketball for the regular season, and we'll move on to the postseason format. Pitt's chances to make the playoff, win or lose in this one, go up if they don't have to play in the ACC title game.
Yeah.
SMU is an 84% chance to make the playoff with no ACC title game. If they go undefeated, Ralph, and they lose it, they only have a 34% chance. So literally you're telling a team, hey, you don't want to go to the ACC title game. SMU, if they go undefeated and don't make it, they have a greater chance than if they just went. It's and lost. It's crazy to me.
The thing is what they're saying is that you went undefeated, but you didn't have to play anybody, so we can't say you're not good. So we'll just throw you in the playoffs and see how you.
But when you're tested,
yeah. But and then remember, because the following year when you're undefeated, they're like, "Nah, you're done."
That's crazy. Let's talk a little bit about this game. Just kind of some of the analytics you can look into. And once again, like I said, I know this is an online simulation tool, but if you don't think ESPN has some type of pull and some type of, what they're trying to do with the playoff, just look back to last year, folks. One thing about Ralph, a characteristic I like about Pitt is that this is a blue-collar team. Look, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I was out on Pitt. I was out on Pat Narduzzi. I thought that his course had run. I thought he had run his course at Pitt. Fires the OC, hires Cade Bell. Shout out the Valdosta State Blazers, 2019 Division II national champs. But he hires Cade Bell, and they're really starting to pick things up. Eli Holstein has been a revelation in that offense and for his career, honestly. And they've won close games all year. I mean, when you go on the road and you have a characteristic that you've got that lunch pail mentality, let's talk about this for a second. You got the lunch pail mentality, and you win close games. I know the spread's at 7.5 in favor of SMU, and we'll talk about the SMU side of things. But if you're Pitt, that's something. If you're a Pitt fan, you have to like coming into this game about your team.
Yeah, I mean the huge win. You look at the schedule, going to Cal or beating Cal at home. Cal's a tough team. Look,
I know they're 0-4 or whatever.
Yeah, disregard their record, but they've lost some tough ones in the conference play. Such as one to Florida State. But beating Syracuse like you did, beat them like a drum. You made we all thought that what we saw on that was the Thursday night game, I think,
against Syracuse.
Yes,
it's Thursday night or Friday night.
Yeah, that Kyle McCord threw the ball 64 times and threw 5 interceptions. I've been saying all year Kyle McCord is one of the top quarterbacks in the country, just because how efficient he's been this year and how good he's been and how much of a gamer he really is.
Yeah,
and Ohio State just kind of threw him out to the Wolves at the end of the year last year. This Pitt team's they're incredible, man. They like you said, they're that lunch pail mentality. They get it done. News though from Pete Thamel, Narduzzi on his radio show tonight said that Eli Holstein is cleared and ready to play on Saturday.
That's big.
Holstein versus Jennings. It's going to be a good matchup. I like this Pitt team. They're just kind of it's hard to really go against them. They do everything right. Everything right. I mean, Holstein's been efficient all year. 5 interceptions. He's got one of the top QBRs in the country. 60 almost 65% completion rating. He's got some. It's not a one-sided team where you have like one talented receiver. You go back to when Jordan Pickett was there. Jordan Addison and Kenny Pickett were there.
Yeah.
He just dishes it out to everybody. He's got a good run game. He also runs the ball pretty well. I didn't think he was that fast.
Yeah, no, he's got some wheels.
So.
Yeah, they win close games, and that's a characteristic you have to like about Pitt coming into this one. I don't think what's happened last week for both of these teams is going to happen again. I wrote that down. SMU had 6 turnovers and still beat Duke. Pitt, like you mentioned, forced 3 pick sixes. But I do think that, and I like the way that SMU takes care of the football. You mentioned obviously that with Eli Holstein playing, that kind of quells any conversation, that we needed to have about Nate Yarnell, the backup. Eli Holstein's a gamer. Kevin Jennings, though. Let's talk about Kevin Jennings for a second. I mean, let's first off,
wasn't even the starter.
3 weeks ago, I issued a public apology for Pitt. I said, hey, hand up. I was wrong. I'm wrong about the Pitt Panthers. So I'm man enough to say when I'm wrong. I'm also childlike enough to gloat when I'm right. And it is hilarious to me, Ralph, that we at one point I tweeted out on December 12th or 22nd, some last year. Said SMU is going to come in and they're going to run the ACC. They're going to take the ACC by storm. Ralph, you want to see some of the responses? You ready for this?
Do you have them saved?
Yes, sir. So let's
we keep receipts around here.
We keep receipts here. And you can keep receipts on me. It's okay.
I'll just go ahead and say I'll say my 2 cents about this thing.
Go say your 2 cents. I'm pulling it up.
Kevin Jennings this year has been, we were talking at the beginning of the year, Bryce, and I said enough. I thought Preston Stone was a guy who could be a lock-in for, a second, third day quarterback in the draft. I mean, I thought Preston Stone was that guy who could, go into the NFL and just be kind of good, good backup, eventually get, become a good starter one day. I was wrong.
It's a hand up.
He was awful at the beginning of the year. I don't know what was wrong with him. It looked like he's trying to move the ball against sand. It just felt like he was just backing up more and more every drive. Kevin Jennings, though, he brings a lot more to the table. He's more mobile. He's got a better arm, better vision. He's a gamer. I say that a lot, I feel like, but he truly is. I mean, he came in last year when Preston Stone got hurt, won them a lot of games, and he's done it this year. I mean, he's 110 for 171 for 65%, 1,500 yards, 10 touchdowns. I mean, I'd say he'd be close to almost 2,000 yards passing right now if he would have played the first 3 games more.
That's fair, Ralph. All right.
Maxwell says, please tell me on one of them. That would be hilarious.
All right, so here we go. You ready for this? Leaving church will update the spreadsheet a bit. Ralph, while I'm doing this, make sure you get your best bet in.
Already done. You're going to get – don't look at it. You're going to get a laugh at it, though.
I won't look at it. All right, so, just Pitt SMU. Let me first off, let me get this out of the way. I like what you said there. Kevin Jennings has cemented himself. Once he has been the full-time quarterback, this offense is flowing. They've got a nice defense. I'm going to take SMU to win, Ralph. I'm going to take Pitt to cover. I think 7.5 is a lot for my liking. I think it's going to be a close football game. I'm going SMU to win this football game. Real quick, get your Pitt in.
I'm going SMU. I think they cover. They're at home. They're comfortable at home. Their only loss at home this year is BYU, and BYU is a solid team. They lost by 3. And at the beginning of the year, we thought it was a bad loss. It's not.
Yeah.
Rhett Lashley, future Creed knower, or future Wood Piggy over there.
Pittman saved his job.
Well, either way, Rhett Lashley, he's done a great job in college football. I mean, from Auburn being OC to being SMU's OC under Sonny Dykes for a few years, he has done a great job this year. Props to him. I'm a big Lashley fan. And they have a linebacker who is from somewhere in Georgia, and the guy followed me on Twitter when he was in high school.
Let's go.
And I cannot find him anymore on Twitter. But he had that pick against Florida State, that pick 6, that big one, toward late in the game.
Pony up, baby. I'm ready for it. All right, here we go. Ralph, pull it up, and I'm gonna go through it. So here we go. This is great stuff, and this is why Twitter's one of the best things there is. So I tweeted back on December 2nd, 2023. SMU is about to take the ACC by storm. Now, I love all these people. I want them to know this. I'm not saying they can't compete. I'm not saying they can't compete, but take it by storm. Come on, what exactly have they done to even remotely prove that? I'm not arguing. This guy actually ends up agreeing. He goes, I would agree with that. That's the main reason I feel like they were best addition to the ACC. I think they'll be solid and make the ACC stronger over time. You know what, Adam? 2 enthusiastic thumbs up. Here we go. We have this guy, Zachary Richmond. Dumb take, but someone plagiarizes their work. Complete rock dweller. It's it is what it is. LOL gets me. LO isn't SMU 0-2 against the Power 5 this year? Because last year's record has something to do with their ability to compete this year.
Mm-hmm. It does.
Buzz96. These are a lot of Georgia Tech fans, by the way. Yep. Post from an account you muted. I wonder who that could be.
Shocker.
Bryce, no, just know they will struggle next year. That one for me, that's a fun one. Because no, they haven't struggled. Quality opposition matters.
Adam came back at it.
Vinsanity. I mean, you can just see right there. Now, Ralph, let's keep going because we didn't stop there. On February 12th, 2024, Bryce's ACC tiers entering 2024. Everybody in the country was wrong on this one, folks. Okay? Entering 2020. By the way, entering 2024, I don't think this is that crazy. Okay? I don't think it's that crazy to say. I was really out.
Don't show mine, please.
Where's yours? No,
Get NC State. Get NC State.
My NC State is my second one. Here we go. My boy Marcus Brooks. Until SMU and Miami have beat us, you need to have that order a little different. Tier 2, Clemson, NC State, Georgia Tech. GT fan, can you see these, Ralph? I don't understand why everyone's so high on SMU. I think they'll be great long term, but they didn't beat any of the 3 Power 5 teams they played. I think they're at the lower part of the 3rd tier for now. Once again, we tried to answer with some type of rationale, but it is what it is. So I like this one. Isn't about what they did against their schedule last year. It's about the program health and outlook heading into the future and the potential of what they can accomplish as of right now. And then this fellow right here, who has repeatedly tweeted at me that he can't stand me, and I don't know why he interacts. Then Tech should be higher. Well, we've obviously seen that's not the case. Of those 3 games, the only clunker was TCU. When you look at the returning production and the focus on talent and depth along the lines, that's the genesis of anticipated performance. That's a lot of words. But go Pony Kai. I think SMU finishes bottom 5 in the ACC. We're coming to dominate, and we will. And this is about the time we really started to get into.
I will say this though: look, if you're saying they're going to finish bottom 5 because that's what you thought, I will not. That's your opinion. It's okay. If you're saying that we're wrong because you think you have facts, that's where we get into conversations.
Yeah. It's just great stuff. It's great stuff because we were straight up told, Ralph, that it's not true. And it's hilarious. It's so funny to me. So I like it.
Hey, shout out to Kevin here. We got a Penn State fan.
We are 24-16. My Nittany Lions stand up and keep winning. A very talented, deep, and dangerous team. It is. Love the depth that Penn State has. My boy Smokey here, LOL. The glaze is crazy.
Sure.
Pony up. All right, Ralph, let's move on to games to watch. I wrote down some as well.
I'm just going to add one there because I agree with the 3 of them, which only have one. He's not here. Auburn Vandy. Diego returns.
Diego returns.
Diego part 2. Where's Gavin?
Part 3. Diego part 3, Ralph, against Hugh Freeze.
Well, Diego part 2 in Jordan Hare.
True. Georgia, Florida. Obviously, the big news out of this game, I don't know if you just saw, but Eugene Wilson, Trey Wilson, the dynamic receiver for Florida, is out for this game. So we talk about it last night. He is. It just says that he's out for this game. So obviously Graham Mertz is out. Montrell Johnson is questionable in this one. They've also got another offensive lineman that is questionable for this football game. I didn't like Georgia to cover at the 16.5 that BetOnline had it now, but without Eugene Wilson, which we talked about it, last night and on Monday, the ability to beat Georgia or the chance to beat Georgia is you're going to have to stretch the field against them and you're going to have to throw the ball. For me, I mean, that kind of hurts your chances right there when you take one of the more electric receivers in the SEC off the field for Florida.
BetOnline so that has it at 16 now. But still, I don't like the
line, 16. But I can make more of a case for it with Eugene Wilson out. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Florida's defense, though, pretty solid group. Next game we got on the docket, Ole Miss, Arkansas. I think this is intriguing, Ralph, because this is a game where I feel like this has trap game all over it for Ole Miss.
It does. This is the team
talk about it.
Going to is at Arkansas, correct? Yes, it's at Arkansas. It's a 12 o'clock kickoff in Arkansas. It's an early kickoff for Ole Miss. They
Tyson chicken nuggets are going to be flowing.
the Walmart logo is just going to be bright and ready to go. I have to say this though, Ole Miss in the past has not been very good. 12 o'clock kickoffs in SEC games, in my opinion. Kentucky this year at home, but just did not. I don't think Ole Miss woke up for that game. This is a team you really cannot sleep on. They're not great, but they are sneaky good. Arkansas is a team that they're vying for a bowl game. They need one more win, and they have a chance to get it with playing Louisiana Tech. But you got Missouri and Texas left in the schedule.
Yeah.
So you need this one really if you want to have a decent bowl. I think Arkansas's. I got Ole Miss is going to win. I think this is a game they're not going to sleep over Arkansas like they did Kentucky. Taylor Green to me, he's just got a good arm. He's kind of I don't want to like oversay he's great because he's not, but he's free. It's like if you look at Barstool, they do the little NFL teams of the week, and they always have frisky and fun. Taylor Green's like a frisky and fun player. Like
that's fair.
He's not over over top. He's not horrible. He's just right in the middle, but he also just kind of like fun to watch because he's kind of mobile, runs around, makes plays, and just he leads the team to win victories. I mean, the Tennessee game, obviously, he got hurt, came back in, got hurt again. So I got Ole Miss winning. If I'm correct, the spread's 7 or 7.5.
It's tough.
That's a tough one to say. I think Arkansas covers that, but then again, I like the over at 55.5.
Ole Miss is straight 500 in road SEC games under Lane Kiffin. So it's interesting. Dr. Bob says Ole Miss has historically struggled in Fayetteville, not Vanderbilt.
Is it in Fayetteville or is it Little Rock?
It's in Fayetteville. I don't think they play in Little Rock anymore.
I hope not. That was the biggest joke ever.
It was dumb. Ole Miss, Arkansas should be a fun one. Ralph, I got one more, and then you can add, a couple if you want.
Well, I said Auburn Vandy. Obviously, that was just one because
who's Troy got this week?
Well, that just kind of ruined everything.
Well, who do they have? Brutal. All right, well, take it off. We got one more game. Miami Duke.
Yeah.
Sure. Manny Diaz.
He has done a great job this year at Duke. They're missing a few pieces from being a way better team.
Yeah.
Just offensive pieces. Their defense has played outstanding this year.
Malik Murphy did flash against SMU, though. I will say that.
He did. They had their really best game against him. Sadly, you got to travel to Miami, which is just.
But Manny Diaz returns to Coral Gables.
Mm-hmm. Miami will light him up, though. It's minus 20. I think. I mean, Cam Ward has been unbelievable this year.
I'm gonna ride.
If it wasn't for what Genty's doing right now, I have Cam Ward winning the Heisman.
What about Damian Martinez? People are waiting for Miami to lose, and they might. Like, I'm not saying they will. And when Miami does lose, everyone's going to point fingers and laugh. This is a really solid Miami team, though. Like, they can run the football against just about anybody.
Yeah, Mark Fletcher Jr., Jordan Lyle, all those guys are super talented. Xavier Restrepo is great. I'm not going to mention that tight end who keeps playing football. He needs to go ahead and get a job ASAP. Retirement's coming for him.
Sponsored by Indeed.
I think I know people who have more catches that play 1 year football. He's played 9.
That's fair.
Yeah. So I just did look. Cam Ward, 2,800 yards, 24 touchdowns, 500 receptions this year. Damian Martinez, 500 yards on the ground. Restrepo, 700 yards to the air. Defense is playing really well. I like this Miami team. Cristobal's finally figuring something out there.
I think he's grown as a coach too.
We really thought last year was a team that we thought would be really good. They also obviously had the collapse against Tech. A few games they just did not show up properly too. Yeah. He got him a quarterback who's a super talented. He's got a defense that's playing better.
Mm-hmm.
I think Louisville kind of like showed their the weaknesses, and so they kind of reined in on those. And this environment's buying into it now. Yeah. More people are showing up to these games, which is, I've been saying for years, Bryce, I hate the fact that Miami plays in the stadium.
So far off campus, too.
Yeah. No one goes to the games. Now, the faithful that stay close to the stadium go to the games. But if Miami
it's getting better.
It's getting better because they have a coach who is helping this team get there.
You're right.
Dr. Bob, I agree. They won't get Duke won't get pushed around. They're physical, but they don't have playmakers. I agree. I don't think they get pushed around, but that first half's gonna be a dogfight. It's just can Duke stay
20
in
points
the game?
Is a lot, though.
I agree, but can Duke stay in the game for 4 quarters? Like, is Miami just gonna slowly kind of pull away toward the end of the game? That's my thing. I just don't know if Duke's don't have enough energy to stay in that game for 4 quarters.
You mentioned, I mean, Cam Moore is the big difference maker for this team. We saw Tyler Van Dyke, flash at times, and then it just got bad.
Garcia,
kind of just, whatever that was. But I think you're seeing this is the difference. Like when you have a playmaker at quarterback and a guy who's confident in his abilities and he's comfortable, that's what Miami has right now. They're protecting him well. He can move around. I wouldn't say he's like a true dual threat in the terms of like he's got elite speed, but he can move around in the pocket and he can make plays with his legs. It's not that he's
watching him just stand in the pocket nonchalantly and just throw a 40-yard bomb is quite fun to watch.
He just flicks the wrist. Another guy who flicks the wrist, a flicker of the wrist. Shout out Cheddar Duck Connect. A flick of the wrist, DJ Lagway. Let's go best bets here. Let's round it out.
Right,
make sure you check out. Go ahead.
Indiana at Michigan State.
Can't lose that one.
It's a game where I think they have an easy chance to win, but I also had Iowa covering that game a few weeks ago. Michigan State beat them at home.
Yeah.
Just one of those games you got to watch out for. Don't sleep on Michigan State at home. Indiana's got to wake up for the game. It's a 3:30 kickoff, but Indiana's only an 8-point favorite. So
Louisville Clemson, that's another one. I mean, 10.5-point favorite Clemson is. I mean, I like Clemson. I like what they've been able to do, but this is the first real team they're going to have to prove it against. And real is a stretch for a team in Louisville, in my opinion.
And we got a little Pac-12 matchup this weekend. We got Washington, USC.
Yeah, I'll throw up watching that. Texas A&M, South Carolina. Can the Aggies avoid the emotional letdown? That's going to be a big one.
Yeah, that's a good one. Kentucky goes into Knoxville. That'll get blown out.
Kentucky might be the second worst team in the SEC.
Mm-hmm. And they lost the first one.
And I like Mississippi State more than I like Kentucky. Kentucky's is awful. One more ref I wanted to look at. This obviously has some Sunbelt implications. Old Dominion goes on the road to App State.
They'll beat the brakes off App State. Maybe.
They're only a 2.5-point favorite, Ralph. Do you need to switch up your best bet? That's
nope.
Oregon, Michigan. Oregon's a 2-touchdown favorite with some change at 14.5. All right, let's do best bets. Let's get out of here.
Yep, I'm going to throw mine up there after I said it, brother. I'm going Coastal Carolina -4 at Troy. Surprisingly, this game year in year out has always been a dogfight. Even when they had Grayson Call and they were like in 2021, 2022, when they were really good, competing in the Sun Belt year in year out as number 1 team. Troy lose to them, by 3 points at home or 2 points on the road. Always been in a close game. This is not the case. Troy's awful.
Yeah,
they are abysmal. They will not win a conference game all year. They will win one. They will go 1-11, and the season's chalked. It's been chalked since we lost to Nevada. If you want to take this game, go ahead. If they somehow lose by 3 and it's my fault, sure, go ahead and blame me for it. They will lose the game. Take Coastal. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and I don't care if I'm wrong because they suck. So,
Jared Parker's never coming back on our show. We're going to get shunned by Troy at the Sunbelt Media Days.
Well, when so-and-so learns to create an Auburn, I'll be back. So, all right, so it's your best bet, bud.
I'm going back to the service academies. I feel like this is a bounce-back opportunity. Navy -11 against Rice. Rice just fired their head coach. You can't lose to food. A lot of different factors going on here. I like the midshipmen -11. I think this is going to be a drubbing.
I thought it was you don't bet against food.
No, you just don't lose to food.
That's true. Okay. Why did Rice fire? Oh, they're awful. Never mind.
They're terrible. And the Navy's an 11-point favorite in a bounce-back opportunity.
Look, we're not going to hate on E.J. Warner, son of Kurt Warner over there.
I'm not hating on anybody. I just think they're terrible. Ralph, what did I say earlier on the NCAA college football stream?
They're terrible. What?
About certain offensive line, certain linemen, what they can be?
Oh, yeah. You can be fat and you can be ass. Yeah.
I wasn't really thinking you'd actually say it out loud, but that is what it is. Navy minus 11 against Rice. That's my best bet. We'll get Wills in, obviously, here. Dunbarbow says Rice will cover. No,
Probably.
probably with my
Navy
luck.
beat them 10-0.
Jeez. No, Navy scored more than 10.
I hope so. Can they?
What's the over-under in that game? 50?
50 and a half, I think.
Bet
online is different. Sorry.
Not touching that.
I'm
not going to do it.
Yeah, 50 and a half.
Fair question.
Yes.
But they still can be both.
Yes.
That's best bets. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Shorter show tonight, but it was a good time. We talked a little college football, and we got some good big games on tap. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you comment down below. Check us out, though, by the way, on Apple Podcasts. If you haven't already, go and leave us a review there. It just helps in the algorithm and continue to do that as well. Make sure you like the video. I'd love if you subscribed. It's completely free for you to do. But if all you can do is hit that little thumbs up button, it helps us out on the YouTube algorithm more than you could ever imagine. He is Ralph Leary. My name is Bryce Coon. We'll catch you next time here on the Crowded Booth.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home.
I apologize because I thought since I was running stuff earlier that I'd hit it, but I didn't. So we'll see you next time.
So you know where I live, so come get some. Like, for real. I'm just going to be